miss your chance to know what the latest sports news is in town, chances to win tickets, and knowing what is going on with all of your favorite KFAN shows, follow KFAN 1003 on all of our social channels like Instagram, TikTok, and X now. Stay connected and follow the sports leader, KFAN.
Couple 13-14 past on the common man. He is 10 to B. Hour number 2 starts with a little 5, 3, 4.
Time now for 5 questions. Well, actually 3, but 5 sounds like more than 4. Question number 1.
It's now time to take an in-depth look at the welfare of the Wolves.
The Wolves have now lost 5 in a row after getting blown out by the Golden State Warriors 111-85 yesterday at Target Center. The Wolves committed 26 turnovers. Jaden McDaniels was 1 for 8 with 4 turnovers, while Julius Randle was 3 for 11 with just 11 points. Common, should we be getting concerned with your Minnesota Timberwolves?
Well, every time I raise concerns, I'm told to calm down. And then I calm down. And I even basically sort of went belly up and ran up the white flag and said, I guess just the way the league is. You win some, you lose some. I still do feel that teams... And I know upsets happen and other teams got professional players and they can rise to the occasion. It just seems, I can only go by the words that come out of the locker room. And, you know, there was more of them here. Now, I'll go to the story from yesterday's loss. Hold on. I know that the game was originally scheduled for Saturday. It was postponed to Sunday because of the protests in Minneapolis. And one player, I'm reading from Chris Hines' piece. It says, one player said before the game, it didn't feel as if the team was actually preparing to take the floor. It was the Wolves' 5th consecutive loss in a day. It didn't feel much like a typical basketball game. It says, Dante DiVincenzo said, everybody, your heart and your thoughts are with the family going through that tragedy about from Saturday. It says, but that's not an excuse. I think if anything, sometimes that brings a community together more, and we need to stay together as a community, as a team, and just push through these rough days, these dark days, because there's a lot bigger things in basketball. But what we can control right now is our basketball in our energy, and they had none. And as a matter of fact, Julius Randle said, lifeless, no energy at all. Terrible choice of words, but it's just no energy to what we're doing, no purpose, no passion, just kind of feels not great. DiVincenzo said, the Wolves got some issues out in the open. He says, it's been addressed, but at the same time, words can only go as far as words go. It might work for 1 or 2 games, but this needs to be something that is a night in, night out thing where you play with energy. And added, everybody tired, everybody ready to go to the break, which we talked about last week. That kind of annoys me, but we just getting outplayed on the effort part. So we got to bring it on that side for sure. And that's, for me, that's what this is my concern. That's what it's been all about, is that they don't seem to take a real professional approach. Every game you go, okay, start of a new game. Let's go out. Let's put a professional performance together. Let's play offense, defense, special teams. Let's not take teams lightly. Let's not make lazy passes. You only have to do it for 2.5 hours a night. The tap's at 7:10. The game's usually over by 9:30, right? I mean, or is the tap at 7? It's basically 2.5 hours at the most, and you do it 3 or 4 nights a week. Other teams now, the Thunder have gone through their troubles. They lost again last night. San Antonio lost. You don't win them all. But when the team, when the individuals on the teams themselves talk about it doesn't seem like we're in sync, we don't come with the same effort and energy every night. Is it as simple as that? I don't know. That's what they seem to claim. I just would like to see it. But so, yeah, I mean, I think there is concern, but I'll say what I've been saying now for the past couple of weeks. I guess if you get in the top 6, that's all you're looking. Now, they're not in the top 6 right now, but they seem to have enough talent. The team hasn't changed much from last year. They lost, what's his face? Who was the big loss last year via free agency?
Nikhil Alexander-Walker.
I think they do miss him quite a bit. But one player does not a team make, and if he's that important to the club, you shouldn't let him go. I don't remember exactly.
And they lost Slow-Mo.
Yeah, and they lost Slow-Mo. So, but yeah, you would think where they were. I mean, everybody tells me what they could use a point guard, but what they really need is scoring off the bench. They have nobody that, Nas is about the only guy that can come off the bench and score. They need another scorer off the bench. Well, whether they make that move or not. So I guess it's just you got to accept what you see from the Wolves, because I don't think it's changed anytime soon, because they've talked about changing it since the first game of the season. They haven't done it. And then you just hope that once you come to playoff time, come fourth quarter, bring it to the ticket.
Question number 2.
Time now for an in-depth look at the state of hockey.
The Wild loss of the Florida Panthers 4-3 in overtime Saturday night at Grand Casino Arena. The Wild got Matt Boldy back from injury, and he scored a shorthanded goal. He also assisted on Kirill Kaprizov's power play goal. By the way, Kaprizov today named the #1 star of the week in the National Hockey League. Philip Gustafson made 30 saves. Common, what sticks out to you from the Wild's loss to Flo Rida?
I like that Kaprizov is starting to do the things he used to do that made him real good. Ever since the Quinn trade, there were some discussions. I'm not paying as close attention, just reading, right? And it says that the two haven't really clicked together, and since the acquisition of Quinn, offensively, which is what Kaprizov's there for, he hadn't been contributing as much as he has since he first donned the wheat in the green. But now this is more like the Kaprizov we've been used to, scoring goals, assisting on goals, making a difference out there. Guys getting healthy. It's but it's like you've told me a couple 13, 14 times now. We're pretty, and barring a total collapse or any major injuries, we're a lock to make the postseason. We're probably going to have to play Dallas to start things off, and they're very good. So then if you do get by them, then you got to get by the Lanch next. If it holds chalk, is that what they say?
Mm-hmm. If they were to win, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know, but yeah, it's like I guess the best thing is just keep trying to win as many as you can, and hopefully you stay healthy going into postseason. How about you? Do you have any?
It's good to have Boldy back. And then they just had Eriksson Ek back, the game before that. The two of them, and I know they had won games without those two in the lineup, but it's immensely different. Just the addition of Boldy, on the penalty kill and hitting pucks out of midair at the blue line, going the other way. He's an offensive threat even when shorthanded. The dimension he adds in the power play, he gives you another line going other than Kaprizov and Zuccarello. So even though the team lost, I was still very encouraged by the way they played.
Very good. And that's the 2-time defending champ Florida Panthers, right?
Yeah.
And they won it the last 2 years.
They've struggled a little bit this year, but yes.
Right. But still.
Kachuk has been injured for a good chunk of it. But
yeah.
Question number 3.
It's time now to consider the course.
With Scottie Scheffler's win in the American Express yesterday, not only did he earn a lifetime membership on the PGA Tour with his 20th victory, but he also joined Jack Nicklaus and Tiger Woods as the only players to have 20 PGA Tour titles and 4 majors before turning the age of 30. Common, is Scottie Scheffler just as good as Tiger Woods and Jack Nicklaus?
When they were, last few years, they've been sort of trying to make that comparison. And I understood it. I didn't think it was preposterous, but it's the old, let's slow down a little bit here, because we've seen players throughout the history of golf have really nice stretches, right? Year or two, month or two, but particularly year or two, when you go, well, this guy's just so good, he can't. And then all of a sudden, I mean, like, how about the Spieth character? That's a prime example, right? Spieth won a number of majors in a short period of time. Everybody said this guy's destined to be the best player in golf, and he's going to be amongst the all-time greats. Has he won a tournament in the last 4 or 5 years?
I feel like it's been a while.
He's really just a non. And every time you watch a tour event, every announcer goes, I think this is the year he comes back. They keep saying that because they know how talented he is. It's not as easy as that. So I don't think that the comparisons are that far-fetched anymore. Do you? I don't know how you can say they are.
He's playing at Tiger Woods' level. I even saw a tweet from like a golf guy that basically Scottie Scheffler's career is the same as Tiger Woods' career up until this point. The only difference is Tiger Woods had a perfect golf swing and was super cool, whereas Scottie doesn't have like a pristine golf swing, doesn't really try to self-promote in any way, shape, or form, right? Like, he just doesn't have a whole lot of vibe to him, so that people don't consider him at Tiger's level, even though from a pure golf standpoint, results-wise, they're almost the same.
Yep.
And I thought that was an interesting comment.
Yeah, I think there's something to that. Tiger had that charisma.
Yeah.
And that...
Scottie's Blandon-like.
He is Blandon-like.
Yeah.
And I would be more like... No, okay.
Tiger was cool. He had the fist pump. He had
sort of kind of like
the
me.
Red shirt.
Would you compare him to me? Let's not get
on the golf course. I would, yes. Well, you're a better putter.
I'm better than 75% of the guys that play on.
Yeah.
We all had that one teacher who believed in us. Show your gratitude with Thank a Teacher. Powered by Donors Choose. Nominate a public school teacher to win $5,000 for their classroom. This week's winner is Tyler Halverson, who teaches at Independence Elementary School. Nominate a teacher to thank today at iHeartRadio.com/teachers.
Couple 13, 14 past. I'm common. He's 10 to B. The AFC NFC championship games, it should be pointed out, tend to be. You know, we talked last week about how different all the quarterback situations were. Yeah, New England with second-year quarterback Drake May, a candidate for the MVP award. Guy drafted, what is number? Was he number 3?
Drake May?
Yeah,
number 3.
3 overall.
Behind Caleb and Jaden Daniels.
And it looks like they've got. I mean, there's room for improvement. You know, he wasn't perfect, but real talented kid. Looks like they have their quarterback of the future. Yeah, their opponent. They've got their quarterback of the future. They think Bo Nix, not as good as May. You know, he kind of rode behind a defense and a running game, but he made throws. He made some comebacks. He's got talent. Jury's still out on if he's going to be, one of the top quarterbacks in the league. But of course, he was out, and then you had to go with the Stidham character. And he had moments, but he made the awful play where he should have taken the sack. I still don't know if that was a backwards pass or not, though. I mean, it was borderline. They ruled it that, and I don't have any skin in the game, so I don't care. But I kind of thought it was more of a forward pass, but it wasn't. And it was ruled against, and that was really the only reason that the Patriots were able to score, because they weren't able to move the ball very well on. I don't think they score a touchdown in that game if they don't if they don't get that great field position. Did they give him a touchdown on the return too? Was it? He picked it up and went in, didn't he? Or
no, they blew it dead.
Okay.
Because they blew it dead, they got the ball like the 12-yard line, and they scored.
And they were able to score.
Drake May scored. They ran it in.
Before we continue on quarterbacks, then it's that going for it on fourth down stuff is so much more prevalent now in the NFL. And I don't know if it started with Dan Campbell, but I think that's when it really started to become in vogue, right? Because, for that first 2 years under Campbell, the Lions were doing it all the time, and they were making it more times than not. And other teams have started to do that. And I think it's not just because of Campbell. I also think they look at sabermetrics and analytics and say, better off trying it here. You look back on, and they tried to get Sean Payton to say, yeah, I should have went for the field goal. He did, but he didn't. He said, he tried to talk around it because he doesn't want to completely throw himself under the bus. And maybe he's, and I guess to be truthful, maybe he really feels like, yeah, with the hindsight, maybe, but at the time, maybe I don't really have any issues with trying to pick up the first down. But I do think sometimes, and maybe, he said something, I think, in his post-game comments about you got to look at who you're playing, how the game's going, and this, that, and the other thing. And I understand if you get a tutty there, you're up 14-0, and that might be enough in a game like that, right?
Sure.
With your defense, but he decided not to go for the field goal. They didn't get any points out of it, and they ended up losing by a field goal. And the kicking at that point of the game was almost impossible to kick a field goal. Winds are blowing, I don't know how fast. They looked like they were going 20 miles an hour. Snow's going sideways. It was just really difficult. Matter of fact, I don't think anybody, after the snow started, I don't think any field goal attempts were made, and they lose. But then you wonder, how long would the game have gone? Let's say they would have kicked a field goal then and the game went to overtime at, 13-13, 10-10, whatever it would have been. I mean, can you imagine how long it may have taken before anybody scored any points in that game? Because you can't kick field goals.
No,
it didn't appear. And so that means you would have to score a tutty, and both defenses as strong as they were, because that's the game. It's not like it goes in the books as a tie. It's not like in the regular season in the NFL where you play the 10 minutes. If it's tied, just all go home and put they'd have to keep playing. That game could be still going on now, for crying out loud. But
here's what I'll say about the 4th and 1.
Okay.
The math and the analytics are going to tell you to go for it, right? They're going to tell you 4th and 1 from the 12. You have a higher percentage chance of winning the game by going for it as opposed to taking the 3 points. Maybe I am speaking a little bit on hindsight here, but I would maybe compare it to how many times we've seen this with like the Twins bullpen, where a starter is going great for 6 innings, and then they make a move for a reliever in the 7th inning because, well, the math will tell us that the 3rd time through the lineup, the starter's going to get rocked, and we want a lefty against a lefty in this situation, when in fact you're just watching the game and go, well, our starter's going, why are we going to pull him? And I would maybe say the same thing for Denver is sometimes you might have to just go against the math here. The math says to go for it, but you got to think of all the situations regarding this. Is even though our backup quarterback has looked solid up until that point, he's still a backup quarterback. Our defense is elite. Points are probably going to be at a premium. And I'm assuming Sean Payton talked to somebody within the team about the weather, right? Did they not talk about the weather forecast and go, by the time the second half comes, it's going to be hard to get points. So getting up 10, given given the defense you have, given you're playing at home, given that the weather's going to turn awful in the second half, 10 points is a big lead.
It's a really big lead
at that point.
Yep.
And so looking back, and like I said, maybe I'm just speaking on hindsight, but I do think that was a mistake.
Then,
even though the math would tell you it was the right call.
Then I saw a story where the kicker for Denver, what's his name?
What is he? He used to be his kicker at in New Orleans. I forget his name.
Yeah, I guess it's not that important. He said, well, he blamed it on.
It's Will Lutz.
He basically Lutz kind of threw the holder under the bus a little bit. He said, well, we were a yard closer to the line of scrimmage than we would have been. He got down in the wrong spot because you couldn't see the yard lines, right? Normally you look and you say, we're on the 37. I think you want to snap it 8 yards back, is what it sounded like to me. And they didn't get it. They just kind of guessed where it was. Because if you saw the replay, it was tipped.
It got blocked, yeah.
It wasn't like blocked down to the ground, but it was tipped enough where it sent it offline. He claims, and I think he's right, had they been back that one more yard, that ball would have got up a little quicker, and he wouldn't have blocked it, and they would have tied the game, right? But it kind of, so here's my advice to holders. Either have a Bushnell with you so that you can take it and you can get down and then you can look and see how far you are from the football, right? On situations like that. Though if it's snowing, the Bushnell probably wouldn't work. So tend to be, we used to do golfing before there was a rangefinder or there was GPS. You would find the 150 stake or the circle in the middle. Somebody's either circle or stake. And then you would just walk it off. Like I know that I know the distance of a stride that I take is 1 yard and you go 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56. I'm 156. He should have went behind the center and should have walked off 8 yards. That's what he should have done. Seriously. So it might
have been 7 yards at that point if the center was already bending over.
Yes.
Because the ball is out in front of the center.
But that's what they needed to do. And they didn't do it. And there you go. Let's talk more quarterback controversies. I love that conversation. We'll do that next here on the Common Man program on the Fan. Little Metallica here. I get that.
Bonus Bucks is back on KFAN. We have 9 chances for you to win $1,000 every weekday. That's every hour from 9 a.m. until 5 p.m. To enter the keywords and learn more, head to KFAN.com.
Come 13-14 pass here in the Common Man program. I'm Common. He is Tennessee. So you had backup quarterback making his first start of the season. He threw his first pass of the year in an AFC Championship game, and he did. It's kind of what we expected. I'd read a nice piece in The Athletic, and I shared much of it with you on the program in our last segment Friday about how Scottie, they all love Scottie in the Mile High City. They all love Scottie in the Mile High City, where he had some success at the collegiate level playing for Auburn. He beat undefeated Georgia, undefeated Alabama, a couple of really big games. He had a nice performance against San Francisco, I think it was last year, where he threw for 300-plus yards. And I do think, though, that the game plan by Sean Payton, and this was even before the weather started, he talked about Scottie will be ready, but they didn't really trust him much at all. They tried to run the ball. And even on their pass plays, here's what I don't understand. I tweeted this out, Tennessee, and I know what people are going to say. You're a high school dropout. You didn't play football past the 7th grade, despite the fact I was a fierce pass rushing, rock and Gibraltar run stopping, defensive lineman, and precise route running, sure, and a pass catching tight end. On the interception, when Scottie, on that final time that Denver had the ball, he's trying to hit a guy going full speed down the field, right? And in those conditions, backup quarterback, they know you got to throw, you need some yards, weather's terrible, and he ain't Matty Ice, right? I don't understand, and tell me if this is crazy. I had a couple of people on Twitter, they basically said I have a great football mind. Do you know they used to, the pass patterns now, they have different names for them than what they used to have. When I was a kid, we had square out, square in, flag pattern, post pattern, and the old-fashioned button hook. And you know what the button hook was? You would run down the field like 10 yards as fast as you could, bait the defensive back to think you're going deep, then stop and turn around and catch the ball. Why weren't they calling in that kind of weather? That's the best pass pattern because the defensive back is in no way, shape, or form going to be able to stop. It's going to be hard for the receiver to stop too. But the advantage in the run game and in the pass game, I think, goes to the offense because the receiver and the running back and the quarterback, of course, because he knows the patterns that have been called, they know where the receiver is going to go and where he's supposed to be. The defensive back doesn't. It's harder for him to stop. I just don't understand why you didn't call more of those types of play. Quick ones where you have the guy bait the wide receiver into going deep, or the defensive back to think you're going deep and then turn in. Now, that might only work for a play or two, but it didn't make any sense to me. I don't know why you're having Scottie throw 30 yards downfield with the game on the line in those kind of conditions. I think that's bad play calling. You
Yeah,
agree?
man. Well, I think generally speaking, Denver doesn't have a ton at the skill positions. And you're going up against a really good New England secondary, so I think it's hard to beat these guys one-on-one.
Right.
Tony Romo actually came up with what's probably a good point in the fourth quarter.
Wait.
And I know. Huh? A rare timer is like, whoa, that was a good point by Tony Romo. And I'd be curious if anyone asked him about it after the game, or, I'm not following Denver's press conferences, so I don't know if it's been talked about or not, but Romo brought up that New England had those all white jerseys, and that field, the snow on that field was beyond white, right? Like, it wasn't like there was patches of green. It was pure white. And I do imagine it's hard to do a passing game when there's 6 or 7 guys in all white uniforms back there, and you can't really clearly see where they are. On top of conditions with, it wasn't just the snow. The wind was probably made it hard to throw the ball. I think they just knew if we don't have, the conditions were only right for running the ball, but they couldn't run the ball because they were up against the clock. So I think they were just going, we just got to try to just throw it up to some guy one-on-one. Either it makes a play or you draw a pass interference, and that's our best way of getting into field goal range, because we're not going to be able to dink and dunk our way down the field.
Unless you button hook it.
Maybe.
But yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. So, the way they did it didn't work. So he threw an interception. So you're right. Maybe that was what they thought. I just think they thought wrong. I think I could be an offensive coordinator in this league. Give me the play sheet. I'll tell you what to do. The old-fashioned button hook works really well, because when you were a kid, didn't you run that play all the time? Or you do the one where, now, of course, to do this play, you have to make sure you have enough time. When the guys that are rushing the quarterback in Sandlot football are going 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, it's different than the NFL. So this is a little longer to develop. But you do the old one, and you saw it yesterday where you do the stutter, you make it look like you're gonna turn, and the defensive back jumps, and then you do the little shimmy move, and then you take off down the field. You bait them into thinking you're going to do a button hook, and then you take off down the field. They didn't do that on the play. They just had you run right down the field, and I'll try to time you and hit at you. To your point, can't see the defender very well because he's wearing a white jersey. You can't, especially the guy that hasn't played enough. I think they made a mistake there, but it might not have made a difference in the game anyway. The second game was really good.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, let's go back to New England and Denver just for a second. New England did it with a draft pick. They were trying to do it with a backup, and not because they wanted to. They had no choice. And now here was Hall of Fame quarterback against Sammy Darnold, a first-round bust in his first few years, played really well last year. We know what happened again this year. And do you think Stafford, let's say they would have won that game and he goes on to win a big game, do you think he goes out on top? Or do you think he comes back and plays again? Because he's got a chance to win the MVP, so he's still playing at a very high level. And I don't know if that question will ever be asked or answered.
He seemed relatively healthy this season. It's not like in past seasons where he's been beat up all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, come back.
Yeah. But I wonder what his decision would have been, because if you remember,
if they had won,
let's say they had won and they went on to win the big game, we'll never know. If he would have just said, you know what, it's been a great career. I'm 37. I got my second big game now. I can't top this. It's like Tenneby. I've told people before, if I could ever shoot even par again, maybe I would just stop playing at that point. Of course, I'm lying to myself, right? But you know what I'm saying? Go out on top. As a matter of fact, was it? Did Peyton Manning go out after winning the big game? Did Elway do the same thing?
I think so.
Or they just said, and Brady did, right? Did Brady, or did he come back another year after winning at Tampa Bay?
I don't think Brady did.
He didn't go out on top? Okay. But Manning and Elway did. Some guys think it's, and there's something to be said for that. To have the last, like if Rodgers goes out, and I don't think he's going to have any sleepless nights, or he's going to have many regrets. If he retires after this season, his last memory is throwing an interception, right? And yeah, it's okay. Not everybody can finish on top, but if you have that opportunity, You do. Sometimes some people will take it. Comment, didn't you love the greatest QB run of all time, the naked bootleg? Absolutely. You can ask Deuce this. I said during, that was for the first down by what's-his-face? May. He made that bootleg play. I would have called the same. I think it was Darnold. Didn't the Rams? The games just all the plays run together. Didn't Seattle get stopped deep in Rams territory once? I'm almost certain they did, and that was where. By the way, who's that running back for them?
For Seattle?
For Seattle,
Kenneth Walker. He looked pretty good yesterday.
I don't know if he can do that every time he plays. Every run he makes.
They've kind of had a rotational backfield with Charbonnet, but he was hurt last week.
Your mama couldn't stop. The Rams couldn't stop him. Your mama couldn't stop. Your daddy couldn't stop him. The police couldn't stop him. Nobody could stop this guy. He was in that first quarter. He was instrumental.
Yes.
In Seattle's success. But I really thought there was another time that I like. If you're going to call a play in a critical situation where game's on the line. I know that you could also try too hard with the trickeration, trying to bamboozle the other team. I just like giving my quarterback the option. It's called RPO.
Yeah.
I love RPOs on 4th and goal line situations. I just like those better. Unless you really feel like your line is gonna, but if your line don't break open the hole, you lose. At least with a quarterback, he can throw or he can run. But
I feel like Denver kind of did that on the 4th and 1 they got stopped on with Stidham.
Yeah. Did they go with an RPO?
I thought it was that Stidham could have either passed it or ran it, but then, there was so much pressure immediately. He didn't really have a chance.
Yeah. That's the problem if you don't have any protection.
But they're trying to roll him out to the right.
That does it too. This one says, comment talking about what routes Denver should have ran reminds me of Warren, Ialto. Well, there's a little Warren there to it too. But to me, it's
well, then what you do is, because you mentioned you just do the button hook a time or two, right?
Yeah.
Well, then after the second one, you do the fake button hook.
Yeah.
Where you come around and you stop, you do the pump fake, and now he's got to step on him, and it's fly pattern.
Or hook and ladder is one of the best plays in football, and that's best done on a button hook.
Correct.
Tight end goes down 5-6 yards, turns around. The defensive back thing, you make them bite on the. I'm going out further than that. I'm going on a 10, 12, 15-yard pattern. We're trying to get the first down. We want to move the ball down the field. Gets the defensive back on his heels, turn around, going the other way. You stop, you catch it. Then you have running back guy, you just pitch it to him. If they do that, Denver wins. If I'm coaching the team, Denver wins that game. If I'm coaching the Denver Broncos, they win that game because I don't call that. Let's throw the ball straight down the hash mark with a backup quarterback in a driving snowstorm. What are you thinking about? It's a terrible play call by Sean Payton, I think. But yeah, so it
devastated to see Sean Payton not make the big game.
Well, that's the other thing too. I think a lot of us here aren't big fans of the Sean Payton character. So I know we'll have plenty of time because we got a week, but we got all of this week, and then next week we got 2 weeks before the big game, right? Your early prediction, Tinneby, Seattle and New England.
Well, I mean, I'm not saying anything different than anyone who was watching the Seattle LA Rams game last, but that game did feel a lot like that was those are the two best teams in football last night. Yeah, I think New England enters the big game where I'm sure we're going to hear all the stats the next 2 weeks as this game is broken down endlessly. But basically, since 1979 or something, it's the least scoring offense in the playoffs we've ever seen.
Oh, really?
Since that's getting to a big game. They have not. Now, conditions were a big part of it against Denver. And let's face it, Denver's defense is elite. Houston's defense is elite. So 2 of the 3 teams they played, the Chargers have a good defense as well. But I just don't know if New England's going to have enough firepower to go with Seattle. It's going to take one of those to me, because New England does have a good defense.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to take one of those games where they force a fumble and you get a scoop and score and go the other way and win because of that.
Well, that seems to be the smart money says, because Seattle's offense is so good that New England's going to have trouble outscoring them, keeping pace with them, right? Which I get too, but as much as I've extolled the virtues of Sam Darnold, and wish that old Sam Darnold, who has an arm, EIEIO, would have been signed by the Vikings, it's still, I think, going to come to, you have a quarterback that's still relatively young in the May character, right? Is this his second year?
Yeah, year 2.
Year 2. And you have a quarterback that, let's face it, he was a bust until last season. He's had 2 nice seasons in a row. Because both defenses are both, really, because New England's defense is real good. Seattle's, all 4 teams yesterday had top 10 defenses, right? Mm-hmm. I do think it's going to be more than likely, and I know this isn't going on a limb because this is how football games are decided, big plays and turnovers, and I think if Sam reverts at all, like yesterday, he showed no fear whatsoever. He had one throw that probably should have been picked off by the Rams. Otherwise, I think he kept the ball out of, and he had a couple of throws that weren't very good.
He was making some big time throws, though.
But he
put him into tight windows.
Exactly. But my point is he didn't do anything where you went, oh my gosh, he got lucky there. If it wouldn't have been for this, he made big time throws, and he didn't really put the ball in danger at all, which is what everybody was, especially here in Minnesota, was afraid of. They were afraid of and face it, he turned it over 20 times this past season when you combine interceptions and fumbles. And so that has to be taken into the equation. And that's what I think people were concerned with. But just because you turn the ball over 20 times during the regular season doesn't mean you're going to turn the ball over during postseason. And he has yet to have done so. He had no turnovers yesterday, and he had no turnovers the week before. And same thing with May, young kid. How will he perform? Now he's also in the MVP conversation. But I do think the team that I think they're evenly matched enough that I think whoever takes care of the ball better is going to be the team that wins. And Sam could revert. The ghost of Mrs. Muir could come back. That's an old school reference I probably shouldn't have used, but
he could also revert, and Seattle's defense is so good.
Yes, well, that's true too.
They can still win regardless.
Yeah.
Sam has not been perfect all season, and yet they're still winning games because, you didn't see it last night because Stafford was so brilliant, but that's an elite defense Stafford was dissecting last night. And their special teams are good in Seattle too.
Who's is his name Woolen? Of all the people on planet Earth, the happiest that Seattle won that game was the defensive back. They stopped the Rams on a 4th and 12. He starts taunting the Rams bench. They were getting the ball back. They throw a flag, and on the very next play, Stafford throws a touchdown pass to Puka Nacua, and the Rams have the lead. You could tell the sideline was none too happy with that character. So he basically, because he had to cock off and do the trash talk and start flexing, he cost his team a tutty. Yep. He could have cost him the game. And I talked about it with Deuce. This is my whole rant about. It's not so much against the celebrations, the choreographed celebrations. Those are all, it's not my cup of tea, but they can be humorous. And I know the players like to. They're excited and they're happy, especially the defense doesn't get a lot of scores during the year. So for them to go down and celebrate is all good and well. But the flexing after every play, no matter what, every receiver that catches the ball has got to stand up and do the old point down the field like and that's okay. And then they got to get up and they got to get in guys' faces for make. There was a game last week. I put it in my notebook. I can't remember who the player was and which game it was, but he gives up. He misses a tackle, a horrible one. The team gets a first down. Then he breaks up a play the next time, and he's preening and flexing. I'm thinking, dude, you just were burned on the last play that kept their drive alive for about 15 or 20 yards, and now you make a hit and you're celebrating? Dude, just go back to the huddle and keep playing. You can't take the individual play. I don't know. It's and that Woolen guy, he could have lost the game. Matter of fact, I thought he was going to cost him the game.
So I will say, stupid play by that guy, right? Like they call that all the time. If you're over flexing at the other bench. That being said, do these guys they cock off after every play? Now it's not always directed right to the sideline, but they are, especially in the playoffs, I feel like they think they can do it a little bit more and get away with it. Nonstop, if a defender's making a play, he's making comments to the wide receiver, making comments to the quarterback. They are doing this every play. So I do find it interesting when referees sometimes choose to call it and when they're letting it go a good chunk of the time.
Yep.
If it's the right call based off the rules, but I feel like they're breaking that rule all the time.
They are.
And they let it go all the time.
They are. I guess if you watched him, it was more
because it was directed at the sideline.
Yeah, and he did it for an extended period of time. Well, here's what else happened early in that game. I think it might have been after the very first play. I think a Rams player shoved a Seattle player, in the shoulder pads and knocked him back. I mean, it was aggressive. And the refs just jumped in there and broke it up. And I looked at Deuce and I said, well, you've set a precedent now. If some other player does that, you can't throw a flag. Because if you didn't throw a flag on that one, and that was aggressive. I don't know if you remember the play at all, but it was after the first play of the game. He went up to the guy and he went wham and hit him in the shoulder pads, and the guy fell back. And I thought, well, they're going to throw a flag there. They didn't. Well, if you don't throw a flag there, then you can't throw a flag if another player
set the standard.
Yeah, because you've set the standard. So in that case, I would have thrown a flag there. I mean, I thought you weren't supposed to hit anybody after the play, especially when you're doing it in anger. It's not even a football play at that point. So, but nevertheless, doesn't matter anymore. The games are in the books. Let's take a break. Another hour to go. The legendary one, Mark Rosen, won't be here tomorrow. He's off on a little he's getting tanned, rested, and ready for when he comes back. Coach's show tomorrow, Nico Medved. Curious to hear what he says. Let's talk a little. I don't know if you watched the game on a Saturday. The Gophers hosted number 7 Nebraska, undefeated Nebraska. The Freddie Hoiberg coached Nebraska Cornhuskers, and it was a tale of two halves. We'll talk about that and other items when we return to the Common Man program on the Fan.